Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 18 of the Football Uncensored podcast. I'm here, as always, with John Sitton. John, how's it going? Good evening to
All
you.
right, yeah, not bad, Joe. Yeah, a bit busier today. Had a little run out towards Colchester, and then come home, had me work out, had a bit of dinner, and then here we are. Yeah,
Brilliant.
but we're still filling in, obviously, for the normal gang, with including Lord Hudson and Don still in Egypt, because I saw his tweet about Glenn Roeder yesterday.
Yeah, no, really kind words, I thought, yeah.
Very kind words, yeah. Another loss. You know what I mean? It's always sad, I think, whenever anyone dies.
Yeah, Ian St John as well.
Yeah, St John's gone. Yeah, I mean that was compulsory viewing in the 80s. Saint and Greavesy.
Saint and Greavesy, yeah.
I know. For some reason, I mean, I used to watch it when we had an home game. I used to watch it. I might have missed the last 5 minutes or whatever. Then I'd rush out the door to get to the ground early, because I used to like to be at the ground by 1:30. And then, but in away games, like we'd have the pre-match meal, then you'd have like a conference room set up where you'd have a debrief on the opposition, which was only like, it was a brief debrief when Clarkey was on his own. He used to hate us watching them. I don't know why. He said, they're watching, and he used to turn that off, and he used to give him the right ump. But the lads used to love it, because I thought it was a cracking program. Yeah. But then you've got Glenn Roeder. I mean, Don sent a message over. He's still over there in Egypt, so you still got the travel restrictions. But he said, when he comes back, he's going to raise a glass to execute our teammate, and love went out to Glenn's wife and kids.
Yeah, it's lovely. Really nice what he said, I thought.
I just try to say my bit. I had dealings with him very briefly when he was manager at Watford. He bought a player off me. It was really funny, because you had the vice chairman. It was a very brief negotiation. I asked 100 grand for the kid. He come through the ranks, Dominic Ludden, and I thought he was, he had blistering pace, but he wasn't really like what you might call, I'm trying to say it's not too disparaging. He wasn't what you might call a model pro, and he hadn't been really like that well educated coming through the youth ranks and whatever. He just got by on his sheer athleticism, but he was a bit small and light for me. And I thought myself, bit of a problem, some of his social habits. I thought, like, do me a favour, get him off the books, 100 grand to get rid of a problem. And Glenn said, basically, I think his exact words, if my memory serves me right, he put his hand over and he said, we'll offer you 65, take it or leave it. He said, if you leave it, I'll have to move on to the next one. So I said, we'll take it. But what you had a situation upstairs, this was after a pre-season friendly, because Watford were in the top flight. And the vice chairman going around saying, if Sits don't want to sell him, we don't have to sell him. We don't have to let him go. And then you had Maureen Anshaw, who was like basically human resources and doing all the wages and settling all the accounts and bills and sending all the checks. Actually coming to me and said, Sits, what's happening with Dominic Ludden? I said, I've just got to go in and see Sue and Carol, the two secretaries, to draw out the paperwork. We're selling him 65 grand to Watford. And she said, thank God for that. I said, well, what's wrong? She said, well, we've got no money for next week's wages, next month's wages, and next month's accounts.
Hand-to-mouth existence.
That's exactly how it was. Yeah, she said, like, I'm just wondering. She said, how we're going to find the money for the next wage bill. So she said, thank God. Yeah. So we got the 65 grand off of Watford. He didn't stay for a drink, but he, nice enough chap. Yeah. So, obviously, like, rest in peace. Both of them. Sad loss to the game. Yeah.
It seems to be quite prevalent at the minute as well, doesn't it? The legends going. Colin Bell a few months ago now. Time seems to be going so quickly, but it doesn't seem to stop.
It'll go quicker as you get older.
Yeah.
I prefer not to be reminded, because I'm 62 this year. So they're the age group above me. And like, obviously, Glenn, I thought, particularly young, especially when you see him up close and personal in games, like I did once or twice. He was a lump. He was he was a very well-built fella, looked like a good athlete, a tad taller than me, and like very like chunky, like really well.
Because he looks skinny, sort of from TV.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I suppose that's when you stop playing, you do. But when you're in your prime.
Yeah, filled out a bit. And I imagine Waddle was the same, wasn't he? Sort of like tall, rangy sort of winger.
Yeah, come up against him when he was at Spurs in the League Cup. Yeah, Waddle. Yeah. Yeah, he had that thing, didn't he? That running style and all that, and you just think to yourself. But apparently, he was one of the quickest and most certainly the fittest in the club.
Yeah,
He
crazy.
used to like win all the runs and everything.
Mm.
Yeah, so another natural athlete.
Yeah. All right. Well, there was a lot of games. We're still a game on now. I don't know. Not quite sure what the score is, but it was 1-1. Burnley went 1-0 up against Leicester, but they equalised. But it might be a bit different now. But loads of games going on, and a lot of, dare I say it, quite boring games. So I think we should pick out some of the hot spots from the games, to coin one of your phrases. West Ham lost away to Man City, but it seemed like they put on a good performance. Man City won, probably they cruised to the win, but nonetheless, I think West Ham showed that they can mix it. Thoughts? Do you agree? Yay or nay? Or any other things to say on the game than West Ham in particular?
Yeah, what pleased me about West Ham is, like, you look at it and it sounds like you're being a smart aleck, but it's like I said previous podcast, where I've always thought West Ham are at their best when they commit to a very high tempo and they play the game at a good pace. And then obviously married to the fact that they look well drilled now. They've got a strategy in place defensively. They're a lot harder to break down. And what I like was the commitment. See, it's like I was talking to someone in the week, and I might have mentioned it to you. The people talk about consistency, and the only reason not to be consistent is lack of attitude and desire. Because you could be like top drawer. If someone's top drawer one week, different class, a class above, played absolutely superb, then the following week don't fancy it, then that shows a lack of attitude and desire, hence the lack of consistency. So it's like a little equation.
Question on that to interrupt, but I just think it's important. Would you yank a player off for that? Because although ordinarily sometimes they can be very good and be the best player in the team. Would you think, sod it? You're not meeting the standards. You're off.
You've got to be careful how you word things, Joe. You just
yank him off. Sorry, yeah.
Would I substitute a player?
Sorry, yeah, yeah. Well, I said yank.
I just think, I was renowned for it. I was renowned for it. Like at the O's, if someone weren't performing, I didn't fuck about. It's just, life's too short. 90 minutes is even shorter. So you know what I mean? You've got to make split decisions. What split second decisions? What I like about the thing with the West Ham is they seem to have like a newly engendered camaraderie, and I think the spirit looks good. That's as a consequence of the doings behind the scenes and stringing results together. And everybody's like, there's a bit more feel good factor about the place. I like the way they committed. What I was going to say, the way they committed themselves once the ball changed hands. I mean, you've got all this. I can't be having some of it. All this fucking sorry to swear, turnover. Coming out of all these rugby expressions, you know.
Oh, it's just transition, and all that. Yeah.
Transition, turnover, blah blah blah. All this sort of talk. For me, it's always been, a change in possession, and change of possession. They've regained possession. It's changed possession. Whatever way you want to phrase it, and they're my two preferences. And then the way they trust the person on the ball to commit bodies forward, and the way they Man City on the break, it was almost as if they were giving City a dose of their own medicine.
Yeah,
the goal was fantastic. Yeah.
Very dangerous. Yeah.
But in the end, that extra $500 million or 1.3 billion invested in players will always should by rights be the difference.
Well, it's a good finish from both two centre halves, but certainly second one, your mate John Stones, good finich.
Yeah, I mean, I've been absolutely made up with his renaissance. The other one was a cracking header, and he watched it all the way. He knew exactly where he was going to put it. Great delivery, and normally they talk about when you're sort of backwards at the penalty spot either side. If the ball, obviously the ball's coming in the opposite, so normally the rule of thumb is to edit back where it's come from. But he just guided it into the same side where he was, which I thought was fantastic header. Yeah. But Stones, I mean, he's he's got quite a few to his name now. He's got quite a few goals.
He
you know
has.
what I mean?
He has.
He's come back.
Well, if we get time, we might touch on England because, or just the Euros in general. And Diaz is, in the Portugal side, who seems to be just having players, a conveyor belt of just top quality players, and all seem to be in good form. So it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on that more generally. Just quickly touching on West Brom Brighton. What a mental game that was! Crazy game.
It was,
tarnished by crazy refereeing decisions. Did you have you got a view on that? On the refereeing decision? When
I have.
Yeah, go on. I'll let you answer that then.
No, just the thing, Joe. Like when we was coming up, right, under Dario at Chelsea, Dario Gradi, under Kenshalato at Chelsea, under Brian Eastick to a massive degree in the football combination at Chelsea. You know, they always encouraged speed of thought. And quick free kicks. But what you do, you'd have during the course of the game. Always try to build up a rapport with the ref, contrary to popular belief. When I was a coach or manager, I didn't really, I'd have a shout out, but I'd never give any ref any sort of abuse. As a player, you're always trying to get them on your side and, give them, charm them and, maybe give them like a little bit of bullshit.
No,
I
can believe it.
Yeah, good decision, ref. Watching ref. They said, thanks, ref. Just like to try and schmooze them a little bit.
Yeah.
In answer to that one, if a ball was within shooting distance, sensible shooting distance, so maybe out as far as the D on the edge of the box. This one was slightly to the left of the D. He's obviously, like he said afterwards, it's the sort of thing that we would have done years ago. Ref, can I take a quick one?
Yeah.
Right. And he'd go, yeah, go on. And then like as you put your hand on the ball to spot it and pass it short or get it going in the middle of the park in the middle third, or maybe like just take your foot off it so someone could whip one in the top corner. It as you did it, it'd whistle. Now what I saw there was the Brighton player. He said after the game, he asked him if he could take it quickly, and he gave him his permission. So he said he stepped up and he see the massive gap. He see the goalkeeper in the wrong starting position behind the wall. He's obviously unsighted. He's obviously too deep on his line. So there's a lot of the goal to look at, and he's just placed it in the corner. And he actually, as he took a step back to get up to the ball, as we say, to whip it in the corner, the ref's actually blown his whistle for him to take it. I just couldn't understand why he disallowed it. Couldn't understand it at all.
Because he blew it again, didn't he? But he blew it again. It almost seemed like it went over the line. But it's like he thought, I shouldn't have allowed him to do that, and he's tried to stop it. Yeah. Crazy.
He's lost his focus for a little while there. He lost his concentration.
It seems to be. I don't know.
He seemed to panic.
And then he went over to the screen, didn't he? And then it didn't have a turn.
Yeah, to cover it. Yeah. He's made a ricket. He's looking to cover the ricket.
So just on, just another question on penalties, really. Obviously, there's a lot of VAR decisions this season. Loads of penalties. I think this might be the most penalties ever in a Premier League season already. Cheers. I've got a little can of Coke here. Or can of other cola beverages are available. But there's Brighton. I mean, old Mr. Potter must be absolutely tearing his hair out because two missed penalties. You had Gross miss one, and then Danny Welbeck missed one, so they ended up losing.
One bar, one post, wasn't it?
Yeah, one bar, one post, and obviously that's coming off the back of that crazy loss to Crystal Palace. But I was going to ask you a question on penalties. Did you used to take, or have you been a sort of regular penalty taker? Were you any good at taking penalties?
Yeah, no, not a regular one. Yeah, I took penalties. Yeah, took penalties before in shootouts and what have you. Yeah.
Why?
He didn't know the rules.
Why is it so hard? No, he didn't know the rules. No. Yeah. He didn't know the rules.
Yeah. But if it comes off the woodwork, he's not allowed to touch it. He touched it, and then indirect free kick then to West Brom.
Couldn't have got any worse, really, could it?
No, couldn't. No, what I did, I used to use my body, put on a body shape.
Yeah.
I think the last one I sent the goalkeeper the wrong way. Opened my body and sent the goalkeeper the wrong way.
So was you right-footed?
I was two-footed, but if it was a dead ball, unless it was a free kick, I could take it with either foot. but penalty would be right foot. Yeah.
And did you go the way it come, or did you go the sort of far corner, right or left?
Well, really, what you should do, and just keep continuously practicing, because the shortest route from the penalty spot to the goal, right, if you're right-footed, is the same side. So to the goalkeeper's left. What I used to do is I used to open my body as if I was going to put it to the goalkeeper's left and put it to the goalkeeper's right. I sent it in the wrong way, and guess what? I hit the bar.
Did you used to go high then, in general, trying to get it in the roof of the net?
Now I got underneath it. I got underneath it. It was one of them where I slipped. It was a cup tire, Colchester.
Right.
Yeah. So, and not the best surface either. So
no, I can imagine.
It was one of them. But I managed to stay on my feet. It was very similar to the John Terry slip in the European Cup final.
Yeah.
But you're talking about the two extremes of the game.
I don't know. Two ex-Chelsea centre halves, so consistency there. So moving on, I think Arsenal was a big result, interesting result away at Leicester, 3-1, 1-0 down, and scored 3 in quick succession. Is it? I don't know, changing of the guard for Arsenal? Are you seeing the influence and the kind of improvements from Arteta on Arsenal, or was it just Leicester just being not at the races and then a lot of injuries? And is it a product of the season? What account for that result, I suppose, is a more general question.
I think a combination of all three. I just think Arsenal have got certain players who turn up when they feel like it. We're talking about consistency a few minutes earlier. Yeah. And it's an equation. Consistency comes from attitude and desire to maintain performance.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It does.
If you've got fantastically technical players, there's absolutely no reason why they shouldn't, why they couldn't, and why they won't turn up every week and deliver 7.5, 7.9, 8 out of 10 performances every week.
Yeah.
And that's not the case with Arsenal. You never know what Arsenal's going to turn up. I think Arteta, it needs to be, if I'm him, which I'd love to be, he needs to be given time. And what he needs to do, he needs to create a culture there, and he needs to be able to work with the youngsters there and show them different aspects to the game, because they've come up through the ranks under different coaches. And if you look at the legacy from Wenger, I don't think it's a great one. And I think he's borderline myth, because people talk about foreign coaches making a difference to the game in this country.
Yeah.
And the only one that's absolutely 100% original and made a difference since he came here is Guardiola. Honestly, if you go deep, well, we spoke about him last week. No, not Klopp. No, because he's all this pressing from the front and hitting teams on the rebound in their own third. We spoke about it last week. I was doing it 25 years ago. We come up against it when Liverpool did it, when the front two were Dalglish and Johnson. Then after him, Dalglish and Rush. And they wouldn't give you a minute's peace.
Yeah.
Right. So that's not a new phenomenon. I'm talking about a new phenomenon. I'm talking about new ideas. I'm talking about new initiatives. I'm talking about people being like radical and innovative, thinking of new things to do. We spoke about set pieces for England from the 80s. But where foreign managers are concerned, I just think Arteta might still be suffering a little bit from here we are two managers down the line.
Still dealing with the fallout from
still dealing with the fallout. I mean, he's only just got rid of a 1.2 million £1 a month liability. You understand? So
who's that?
Ozil.
Oh yeah,
he was on a third of a bar a week, wasn't he? He was on a third of a bar. 330 grand a week times 4, it's 1.2 million a month. And change. Right. So listen to what I'm going to say to you, Joe. Right, it's a combination of all three. Leicester, unbelievably bad luck with injuries.
Yeah,
that would have contributed. Arsenal decided to turn up, and Arteta, you could see on the line, he's very, very passionate. He's very. He seems to me
Intense, isn't he? Quite intense.
That's a minimum prerequisite. Like, I'll be true with you. You know what I mean? So that's no great shakes. That's no great shakes. You get Sunday morning manager who's passionate, but what he's doing is just starting to have his influence and impart his knowledge, and it's just starting to bear fruit. So I just think he's got to be given time.
Yeah, fair enough. Just a challenge on foreign managers coming over and having influence. What about Bielsa? I mean, is he?
What about him? I keep hearing all this about him being a genius. They're second only to West Brom in goals conceded. I read the other day,
but they scored a lot of goals.
They scored a lot of goals, yeah. So it's what I said to you. If your net outlay is zero balance, but you're in the relegation zone, right? What's the point? Oh yeah, look, Mr. Chairman. I bought 150 million pounds worth of players, but I sold 150 million pounds worth of players. Yeah, but we're in the bottom four. So what's the point of having a zero balance? If you've got a net balance of zero, right, in terms of goals scored and goals conceded, again, it's a waste of time. You know what I mean? And again, it's not innovative. Five forward, 5 staying back, and then the WM shape and all that. David Webb was doing that at Brentford. Trust me when I tell you. Believe me when I tell you. The beauty of being experienced. The beauty of being 61, the beauty of being in and around a professional environment since I was 12 is, and the beauty of being me in terms of having a fantastic memory and, no, you know, like,
no, I understand what you mean. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I mean,
history repeats itself, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, you come through the thing where you learn to sort the wheat from the chaff anyway. You learn the stuff that you're not interested in. You just and you think it's poppycock and nonsense. You just leave that to one side. You don't use it. But the other stuff that's relevant and the stuff that you think at the time, and then like you say, the stuff at the time that was innovative, it's gone full cycle, and it's like here we are using it all over again.
Yeah.
And whether it's the press from the front. You give it some fucking name last week. It drives me mad, all these expressions. You know what I mean?
The Gunga press.
Why they call it that?
Because because that's what Klopp used when he was at Dortmund, wasn't it? Dortmund. So it's a German word.
Is it a German word? Is it?
The Gunga press, yeah. And I think Germany won the the World Cup with the same tactic, that sort of real press from the front. So I think they use Gunga press as well.
Yeah. Well, if you've got coaches in different countries and you've got players who haven't been educated and they're like rabbit caught in a headlight or a deer caught in a headlight because they're being pressed, right? And they haven't got the ability to change it. That's their problem. You know what I mean? What the German game is based on just doing the right thing continuously, which in turn is based on data. And they just chip away and keep doing the right thing, keep doing the right thing, keep doing the right thing, keep doing the right thing. In the end, the crack's going to appear. And then what they do, they're very, very ruthless and efficient because they've got good technical players. But as for it being any sort of new idea, nah, nonsense. It's a lie, nonsense.
Yeah,
it's a myth.
Yeah.
And you've got Arsene Wenger. He was called Le Professeur. He came in and he was all radical and innovative. Well, he only did and repeated what Malcolm Allison was doing 30 years before he even arrived in this country. Not quite 30 years. So he got here, somewhere around about 96. So if you go back to the late 60s when Allison was at Man City and he introducing the thing, but he knows still, you know what I mean? Because of who he was. But for me personally, it's just me. I mean, people go on me a bit like about being too intense and being a misery guts around Leighton Orient. Trust me. It's if we'd have had any sort of success, it would have been like a scene out of The Wolf of Wall Street. It's you know what I mean?
The release.
Listen, it's only the release. You only go once around the dance floor. You know what you used to do, like off the back of great results and the FA Cup win against Leicester 1-0. Neil Young top corner or roof of the net, left footed. I remember watching it in black and white, and then next thing you know, he's taking them to the Playboy Club and getting bottles of champagne all over the gaff. Well, yes, but no. So it's just like it's finding that balance.
Work hard, play hard.
Yeah, but in terms of ideas, I might have mentioned it before. In terms of ideas, because I think Lord Hudson, he won't have him. I think he's the godfather of coaching in this country, and he's one of them criminally underused because he was brash, he was outspoken, he was borderline arrogant, but no different to any other top class manager. I mean, look at them now. Look at the ones now. They're all You've got the self-gratification by supporters over the likes of Jose Mourinho, the self-proclaimed special one. Well, it's just fucking Malcolm Allison Mark II.
Yeah, it's PR, isn't it? Really, it's just bigging yourself up to get a job.
Yeah. But the point being, there's certain traits in someone's personality. And Al weren't wearing it, but when he met him, but when I met him, I thought it was different gear. It was just a font of information.
Fascinating.
I met him as a kid when he offered me an envelope to sign for Palace. So fast forward from the late 60s to the mid 70s, and again, everything that Wenger was revered for, bringing in, improving, promoting youth, putting youngsters in the first team, building a young squad, stretching programs, diet and nutrition, physiology and anatomy, etc. New training regimes, diet. I don't know if I mentioned that. That was all on the agenda. He even started to talk. So he started to talk to me about it in the dressing room at Crystal Palace when I was meeting the first team players. I was standing with my dad, and he's saying, what sort of foods do you think a footballer should be eating? He's asking me all these questions. I was 16.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah. So there's the only one. If you go deep enough, if you're profound enough, if you question it enough times, like I have and like I do, and like I've always done, the only one who's been totally innovative, radical, new, is Pep Guardiola.
Okay. Speaking of a radical, innovative manager, Herr Tuchel at Chelsea. Bit of a ball draw, really, against Man United. Strange one.
From what I can make of it, he's still playing 5-2-3, evolving into 3-4-3. So not so radical and innovative as we think.
No.
I called the draw. I just made the mistake of thinking that there'd be someone talented enough to put a ball in the net at each end. I called it 1-1. But 0-0 as far as both clubs are concerned, really. Particularly Chelsea, I think it's an improvement. Because it's like I said to you, when we've done previous podcasts and we spoke about Chelsea at length in a few of them, and I actually said that if Frank can sort out the defensive side, they'd be in business. And at one stage, it looked like he got both ends right.
Yeah.
But then they had that horrendous run.
Well,
it was 2-7, and then it's tin tack.
Yeah, good night, Vienna. I forgot to touch on it last week, but I think it's worth asking you, because you may have been involved in this type of situation. But Herr Tuchel, he brought on Hudson-Odoi, I think, at half time against Southampton for Tammy Abraham had done his ankle, and then he I was say yanked him off. He pulled him off. That's even worse. I can't say pulled. He substituted him again in the second half.
He substituted the substitute.
And he was very critical of him, saying that he didn't show the energy, he didn't do the tracking back that he wanted him to do as part of his advice. It was what he asked him to do. And yet everyone that's analysed the game, analysed the performance, said he seemed to do exactly what he should have been doing, and he worked his nuts off.
Yeah, it was a strange one. Yeah.
Really strange one. And what's your thoughts on that?
Well, we're talking about sort of it's like a theme here, and again, it's something that I did. So when was the documentary? At 95. So that would be like nearly 26. It'd be 26 years ago this October.
Right.
As in calling your players out in public by proxy.
Yeah.
As in, like, there was a camera in the dressing room. He called a player out in public, and he substituted the substitute, which is pretty embarrassing. And he even remarked, he said, I didn't like his body language. And he along the lines of paraphrase, he knows what's expected. And he wasn't doing what I wanted him to do. But I know for sure he definitely said, I remember him saying, I didn't like his body language. So yeah, there's pluses and minuses to that. The old school, a lot of common fault, especially sensitive souls like Lineker on Match of the Day. I remember him saying, it's not the dumb thing. I think it's quite refreshing. for a manager to have the courage to do it. Me, I'd put a spin on it. If I'm Tuchel's number 2, right? If I'm his number 2, and this is how it works, right? The good cop, bad cop bollocks. Remember having loads of rows with Frank Clark, and then Bill Songhurst would come and he'd try and dampen it down. He was the physio. This is when Frank never had a number 2. Or there wasn't a first team coach or assistant manager in situ. So the physio would come and he'd try and dampen it down. He'd say, look, Frank, he don't want a problem with you. He don't want to beef with you. He don't want to think, are you all right? I said, yeah, I'm all right. You know, at the end of the day, you clear the air and forget it. I would go to Adoy and I would say, like, he's got massive expectations of you. So see it as a plus. I would see it as a plus. There's not many clubs he's going to go to from Chelsea, right? Probably count on one hand where it's a move upwards. So it's like I said about Stones. When I said episode 4 or whatever it was, what he's got to do, he's got to knuckle down. He's got to pull a coach to one side and say, can you do 20 minutes with me? Can we get a couple of the youth team over, do some retreating and marking in the box? We do some one-touch clearances? And Stone has had a massive renaissance and he's just been different class. And I think he's nailed on to be England's number 1 centre-back on the right-hand side, possibly alongside, which gives you a nice balance alongside Maguire. I think the same applies to Adoy. He's still relatively young. So if I was on the staff, I would be having a little whisper and I'd try and put a positive spin on it. And then you look at it, what he's done, I think it's good management. He's played him the next couple of games to see what his reaction. What's your reaction? Let's have a look at your reaction. Let's see what reaction we get.
Yeah, it's interesting one as well. But this is what I was. Yeah, this is where it's just.
If you're a man, Joe, and this is the thing that sticks in my craw, right? People going, "Oh, we done it because of he was on camera. He done it to try and impress the bird who was filming it." What a complete and utter load of bollocks! I've done it because I was questioning the pride and the ego and the professional integrity of a group of footballers.
Yeah.
Right. And you're looking for a reaction. And when someone ripped into me at half time, right, when I ran out, it's just me. And I know everyone's different and you've got to think, but I know it's a sweeping generalisation. That's fair enough. I'll hold my hands up to that. And I admit that it's one of the mistakes I made, thinking that people would apply themselves in training and react in games how I did. I'd go out, start the second half, there'd be fucking bodies everywhere. The first 5 headers, the first 3 tackles, I'd win them and then I'd pass it sensibly and claw my way back into the game.
Yeah.
You know, not that I had many bad games, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, if he thought that, well, the other reason he's said to me in correspondence, Frank Clark, he said, I admit, he said, I took you for granted. And he said, I never helped you with your career the way I should have done. And I never rewarded you the way I should have done. He's admitted that in correspondence. I think amazing. It's big of him. It's bigger and it's lovely for him to get in touch and to talk to me. But I think even if you replay it in your mind's eye as a human being, it's like, he said, well, you know, about the thing we were meant to go to, and I couldn't because my second daughter, we'd already arranged an engagement party. So it clashed with this thing. And he said, oh, you know, it would have been a good night. You'd have been welcomed with open arms and da-da-da. And then we both started to open up to each other. And I said, we talk more now than when I was your captain. Yeah, because he said he gave me bollockings when I was man of the match. I was getting trophies left, right and centre, awards, not awards. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll word it appropriately. And then I'm like, what the fuck? And he said, well, you know, I'm giving it to you because I know there's people in there, their shoulders are not broad enough. They can't take it.
Yeah, you can take it. Yeah,
but I just said to him, well, I disagree. I think, and then he said, well, you know, it was from a different era. And that's when he opened up a bit more and said that he said he never, he said, I admit now, and no, you're right. Sort of, it was like a confessional, you know. He said,
wow.
I didn't reward you as well as I should have done. I took you for granted. I didn't manage your career the way I should have done. And I knew that I could leave you to do stuff and get on with it.
Yeah.
Well, what should happen? This is what should happen very quickly. What should happen is, my belief is, you should never take loyalty for granted. You should reward loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
You should pay homage to loyalty. And I just think, like, in the game, it's what makes it. I mean, I didn't have a chance, but really and truly, it's what makes players cynical. They go, all right, fuck you. Get on the front of the agent, go and get another signing on fee, go and get a little rise in wages, and so on and so on. It's this why there's no continuity in marriage, like no relationship between player and coach anymore, player and manager anymore.
Yeah, the short-termism is just going
especially as it encourages short-termism. Yeah.
So
I like though. What I like, Joe. What I like is the fact that he's reached out. But even then, I've had a little bite back. I said, like, I needed you to reach out 25 years ago when I was fucked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But anyway, that's the way it is.
Better late than never, I guess. You know.
Yeah. No, it's still a lovely thing.
Yeah.
It's still a lovely thing at the end of the day. But for me, everything is bittersweet. But it's like I said to you, you know, things end when the people about to parting on good terms. It's all a load of bollocks. It's all like false smiles and, you know, limp handshakes. You know what I mean? No, listen. The bottom line is, my belief is, you know, if you're on good terms, it wouldn't end, would it? It ends for a reason. You can never end on, you know, not what I call good terms. You can never end on really good terms. Otherwise, it wouldn't end. Why end it? You know what I mean? Because we went through all the rigmarole, what I went through on Club Call, and all the Football League were informed by this Owen Hand, this mischievous Huddersfield Town fuck. You know what I mean? Have you heard what your captain said on Club Call and all that? What's it fucking got to do with you? If he was in the room now, I'm not getting brave. Don't get me wrong. I'm not getting brave because we're me and you are miles away and we're having a thing. I'd say to him, what was you thinking? You know, and to put it quite frankly, what the fuck has it got to do with you? Who the fuck do you think you are, poking your nose in our business at Leyton Orient when you're manager of Huddersfield Town? Who do you think you are, grassing up or thinking you're grassing up, making people aware of what's gone on Club Call? And then Frank's gone under Football League, got involved in this and this. What's a load of bollocks? What's a load of bollocks? Because I called some players out, and I didn't even name them. I just said there's players who at the moment they're not fit to wear a Leyton Orient shirt. And he starts bringing into it, Frank started bringing into it the goings on between Roy Keane and Alex Ferguson. I said, like,
I was going to say, yeah, it's similar. Yeah.
Fucking hell, Frank, have it right. It is similar, and that's many years later, but have it right. You're talking Man United and Leyton Orient. There's a fucking big difference. But at the end of the day, I
think he dug players out, didn't he, Keane? He actually specifically named players. Which
so did I. So yeah, did. Well, I didn't name the thing. I'll dig them out on the field. Yeah. When I'm looking like the geezer next to me, Kevin Dickinson, nearly getting his fucking leg broke, and then Keith Day getting his nose smashed to bits. Although it was, to be fair, it was a big target. I'm getting fucking split across the eye. This is away at Notts County, and he's got the geezer. Who was the geezer? Fucking, if he was chocolate, he'd eat himself. The geezer, he was manager of old, done the team talk in front of the stand.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, he was manager. He was
tanned.
Yeah, the one who's tangoed all the time.
Oh God.
Anyway, he was captain of Notts County, and it was like a mutual appreciation society. You know what I mean, with Clarkey and all that. But I'm thinking to myself, you've got the geezer up front, Mark Cooper. The two centre backs are having fucking 4-course meal, cheese and biscuits, brandy and cigars, and he's still not stopping the ball coming forward. We're getting smashed to bits, and I think we had a run where it was like 7 defeats on the spin, so we drew something like 2 in 9. So lost 3 or lost 4, drew 1, lost another 3, drew 1. So I started calling players out. But I didn't even name them. I just said there's people pulling out of, all this, what we got off of Brian Eastick, John Cartwright, Dario Grady, Dave Sexton, Ken Shell. They forget I was educated at Chelsea in a much higher standard with much better players and earning the right to play because it was physical. Peter Osgood used to say, get your retaliation in first. Yeah. After he got his leg broke by Emlyn Hughes. You know what I mean? Come in with a coward's tackle and broke his leg. Then sees him off at the station. You know what I mean? But Ozzy used to say, get your retaliation in first. He used to dig Mickey Droy out and say, why the fuck are you not giving it to their forward the way I'm getting it up the other end? It was like, it was a thing like earning the right to play. And we were getting every guarantee, every away game, especially if we went up north, we would just roll over. So I was sick of it and I called it out.
Well, on that, so we might as well move on to a question from Twitter actually,
Go on,
John Bailey. So thanks, John, for messaging in. And
can I thank John as well? Can I just go on the record, Joe, because he's been a long time follower of mine on Twitter, and we've got we seem to have a lot in common with regards to I don't know, like passion for football, love of football and life, and the way you try and conduct yourself. And he's been a supporter of the book. So I'd just like to go on the record and thank him, to be honest.
Well, yeah, and that's nice for you to say, and I think John will appreciate it. But also, it was a really good question, actually. The more I read it, the more profound it was, and the more insightful it was. So the question was, do you think the current fashion of playing out from the back, sort of the tiki-taka, possession-based football from the back, along with VAR, is slowly taking the excitement out and the passion out of the game? And passion probably being the most operative word. Like the kind of, obviously VAR has been a relatively recent phenomenon, or very recent phenomenon, but that kind of, like, as I say, you mentioned Guardiola as the kind of the citadel of the modern way of playing. But that ethos, is it sucking the passion out of the game, or is it having a detrimental impact from a passion point of view? Because you would mention in there the sort of games you had, the sort of the passion that was involved, and when we say passion, also mean borderline aggression, or borderline violence in the game. That's kind of been completely neutered from the game now.
I mean, I wouldn't condone that violence. I mean, again, people, they judge a book by its cover. You know what I mean? I would never set out to iron someone out unless they got at it with me first. When you look at the Joey Barton comments, before we come to John's question, we're about no midfield enforcers anymore. I disagree. People have actually remarked it's a minor miracle that he's actually managed to get a couple of jobs after what he did at Man City at a Christmas party. So again, it's another one in the long list of what I did pals into insignificance. You know what I mean? Stubbed a cigar out in someone's eye. I think it was a YTS lad's eye. I mean, it's fucking despicable. And then like the thing where he does a bit of bird and after a punch up in a chip shop or whatever the fuck it was. You know what I mean? He looks like he's matured now a little bit, and he's added to the image with the degree in philosophy. You know what I mean? Which is, you could sit there and fucking question the word if. And write a thesis, of 2,000 word thesis on the word if. So it's it's a bollocks degree. But going back to John's point, it depends on the club. With regards to the tiki-taka. Listen, what you've got to bear in mind is it's like things.
I think it means generally. Sorry to interrupt, but it means generally as a game. Is the passion being sucked out of the game? Generally.
I'd say the short answer is yes, because we know, like, I mean, VAR. I mean, I just think it could be used. It can be put to better use and used for just a couple of things, maybe 3 things. But you've got all this now. Is it a goal? Isn't it a goal? Can we celebrate? The players are waiting to celebrate, and then after the players are seen to celebrate, then the fans can celebrate. Or maybe you celebrate and then you realise you shouldn't celebrate because it's been disallowed. I mean, what's a complete and utter load of bollocks? In the meantime, everyone's getting hypothermia. I mean, just what happened to the, I mean, like human jeopardy. I just think like I said to you, I think a couple of weeks ago, it's another Americanism, Joe, the way it's going. You know what I mean? The way, like the American football, we're waiting for this call. In the meantime, we're going to go and pay the rent. And then you'll get like a couple of quick commercials and they'll be back. Yeah, the decision's made. It's all going towards
a word from our sponsors.
A word from our sponsors. Yeah. Now, with regards to the playing out from the back,
did you do that? Was you a ball playing centre half? What type of, did you believe in that philosophy when you was a manager?
As a centre back, really, I was probably. I'm not embarrassed to say it. I was an out-and-out destroyer. Listen, it was double basic. I would win me headers, I would win me tackles, and I would distribute the ball as best as I could sensibly. I had a couple of games where my distribution was horrific at Chelsea on a fucking mud bath.
Yeah.
Complete lack of confidence, and it was played into the. It was actually one of his theories, Terry Venables, to do the opposite. When players are having a bad time, they want the ball as far away from them as possible. He said that's the time to invite the ball and want the ball and need the ball and have the ball. Yeah, so different strokes.
And was that to build your confidence up again, because you're touching the ball more and you can do something well, and then your confidence builds. When
you're coached by the likes of them and like Dario, and you're listening to the information, you think they've got a valid point. Because Dario used to say, you're trying to copy Butch, like, as in Ray Wilkins. You know what I mean? He said, like, just keep the ball and pass it sensibly, he said, and build it back up again. He said, I know you can maybe hit a 30, 40 yarder. He said, but start with 5. And the bottom line is, as a coach or a manager, I always said yes, but only if it's on. Too many people are doing it now when it's not on. And I said to you last week, let's go back to the Liverpool one, right? When they lost at home. I think, who was it to? Leicester or Brighton? I think it was Leicester or no.
Anyway, goalkeeper's mistakes. Do you mean?
Yeah, but it weren't just that. I said to you the fact that, like, it's you got to use your bit of nous. You got to use your football IQ. You need your captain to lead and say, well, regardless of, because it's become like 5-a-side football or 8-a-side football. And the bottom line is they had a makeshift back 4. So what my argument was when we spoke a couple of weeks ago or last week, I said, why would you invite pressure on a makeshift back 4?
That was Man City, wasn't it? That game.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So like whoever it was, because they lost something. They had three losses at home, I think, didn't they? Yeah. On the bounce. Yeah. And you're right. City. It might have been the City. It was the City game, because I remember the thing, he gave it away and Foden pinched it. Bump, short back lift. Woof. Right on the top of the roof of the net. Absolutely levered it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's coming back to me now. But that's the bottom line, Joe. Why would you invite pressure? And if at the end of the day, you're talking about someone who's coached it all his life, right? So a lot of coaches in this country, they have not coached that style of football all their life. There's a number of factors here. I'm going to go into this, right? There's a number of coaches in this country in all the divisions, right? They've never coached it in their life, and they're now trying to copy Pep Guardiola. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
Second thing is, right, the players you've got at your disposal. Horses for courses, right? As one of his favourite expressions, Brian Eastick, right? Horses for courses, right? Why would you invite pressure on players who are not particularly comfortable with the ball at their feet? Definitely not in the back third. You're absolutely, like, you're begging for aggravation. Yeah. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Lastly, right, this is in defence of the aforesaid coaches that I'm talking about in all 4 divisions, right? When you go and do your badges, this is a bugbear of mine. That is something that I'm endeavouring to put in my second book, right? The syllabus up to a point is fantastic, and it gives you a structure and it gives you a basis for sessions, and you progress from grids. From coaching in grids to coaching in small-sided games. Then you progress from coaching in small-sided games to phases of play. Then you progress from phases of play to coaching 11v11, and then back to phases of play, because you still got 11v11, but it's like a certain part or certain area of the football field. What? I don't know. I ain't been up there for years. It's a bugbear of mine with regards to different aspects and styles of play. You're not given an outline on how to coach that. So I'm hoping that gives people a clue on what I'm going to say, because you've got absolutely no idea. It's like I said to you, so last week I used the analogy with regards to the driving lessons, and then you pass your driving test and you do everything right and you answer all the questions on the highway code, and he's happy with the way or she's happy with the way you reverse around the corner and done a 3-point turn and an handbrake ill start, and taps the thing, and you do the emergency brake and everything's hunky-dory. Then you go and get your first car. And what I said to you last week was, there's drivers like coaches, right, who they'll go away and they'll drive all right. you know, they won't be too bad. There'll be drivers who they get their first car, like coaches, they'll go away. There'll be unbelievable coaches. There'll be unbelievable drivers. Then there's a third category of people and of coaches who should never have been let near a set of ignition keys.
Wrap it around the tree.
Well, yeah. So the point being is because you're basically you're given guidelines. You're given a broad general overview of how to coach the game. But
it's like coaching by numbers type thing.
Well, but you're not dealing in specifics.
Yeah,
and you're not dealing in specifics. And every coach goes away and formulates his own ideas. Well, what I would say is to John is Pep's been coaching it for years and years and years at Barcelona in the youth, in the reserves, the first team, then Bayern Munich first team. Then he's come to this country. He's been here, 3, 4, 5 years. He's been coaching it here. He's not only that, he's got multi-million pound players. His club's backed by a nation's GDP, and he can go out and just by the perfect, like Subbuteo, you could get the perfect player, pick it up and put it in that position and say, yeah, job done, right? And then they've got to comply. The beauty of it's like I've always said, right? When people question me and I say, well, you're instilling fear. And I said, well, don't be so naive, right? Fear exists in every football club in the land from the top to the bottom. There's just different aspects of fear, right? There's a fear of not being offered a new contract if you're in the bottom division. There's a fear of losing your first team place and then fading into obscurity. And then in the top division at clubs like Man City, there's the fear of losing your first team place and getting sold off and discarded because you're not up to it. You're not up to what the manager wants, and he's got the clout to just replace you. You understand? So there's different aspects of fear. Going slightly off piece, but where John's talking about VAR, I'd say that's an emphatic yes. You know my thoughts on that. 2 or 3 decisions only it should be used for. It's definitely taken the thing out of the game. Look, the authorities keep changing it, Joe. Do you remember, first of all, it come in the back pass rule. Liverpool were the absolute governors at it. In Europe and at home. I played against them. You put them under pressure, right? This is what would happen, right? I don't know if it's going to deafen people, right? Because you're playing, right? And you hear it and you're aware of it. Ronnie Moran would go, the centre backs would look over, Lawrence and Anthony go like that. Or 1 minute to half time. What they do, they get the ball for Grobbelaar. They'd have a little look, which is all bollocks. Then they'd roll it back to Grobbelaar. Then they'd squeeze up. Then someone would drop out because they're winning 1-0. Or they're away from home in Europe and they're drawing 0-0. So they'd squeeze up and then someone would drop out and get the ball for Grobbelaar again. They'd have another little look, which is a load of bollocks because I've got no intention of passing it forward. Then they'd give it back to Grobbelaar. Then all of a sudden the referee blows the half-time whistle. So they banned the back pass rule, right? Because it was sucking the lifeblood out of the game, they reckon, right? Then the goalkeeper
correctly it sounds, by the way. Correctly, it sounds.
Well, because you could absolutely, like they'd end up spilling their bovril. The crowds have fallen asleep if that was allowed back. And then, but trust me, believe me, it went on in the 70s, right, and the 80s, right, and they got many a result from that. And that's a discipline in itself. But anyway, that's by the by. I'm not here to blow smoke up Liverpool, but the next one was the goalkeeper. They could have the back pass, but he can't hold it for more than 4 seconds. He's got to distribute the ball. Right, now this brings me nicely to what you said, and also to put bring an end to the answer to John's question when you asked me about would I coach it. I coached it with the youth team, the first team, the reserves when I had my chance, but I said only when it's on. So what that means is, right, so you're coaching 3/3 that way, right? So defensive third, middle third, attacking third. So I also used to coach in 3/3 that way, right? Corner to corner, box to box, from each corner to corner, corner to corner, right? And then the middle tranche, and then the two wide areas, wide tranche, right? What you can also do, you can coach when the pitch is absolutely cut in half down the middle, end to end, right? So you've got either a shot from central, and then everyone's poured in, and the goalkeeper gathers it comfortably, and then he can, where everyone's poured in, there's like an imbalance to the opposition, and one of your players is free, and or They've attacked in a wide area of the opposition. They've put in a cross. The goalkeeper's gathered it. But everyone's coming on the cross. So really there's an imbalance in the opposition again, right? So you've got all the play shifted to one side. But out the corner of his eye, as he gets his head up, it can go bang. And he can fizz it out, gathered it from the left, fizz it out to the right. Liverpool will be the prime example with Trent Alexander. Because 3 or 4 strides, he's on the halfway line. I'll tell you who were good at it. The last time, and I think it was the last time an English manager won the championship, was Wilkinson. He had Lukic in goal, and he'd go, boom, he'd catch it, and he'd go, remember the guy, you're probably too young, there was a guy called Mel Sterland. And when he come down, he said to me, Eustace, we used to call him the flying pig, right? And he'd fizz it out to the right. Oh, no, I think it might have been when he was at Wednesday. Anyway, he'd fizz it out to the right. Within 4 or 5 strides, he's on the halfway line.
Yeah.
So the only time really for me, unless you're Pep and you've been coaching it all your life, and unless you've got the players with the capabilities to tickle it out from the back, is when all the players shifted on one side, and then you can throw it out to the other side because the opposition are totally imbalanced and out of whack.
Did you believe and coach and play with the mindset of play the first pass you see or play the best pass you see? Because the reason I asked that question, which is quite a simple question, but it seems to me to be the differentiator between a lot of styles of play, in the sense that Pep Guardiola's teams, the tiki-taka playing out from the back, is play the best pass. Maintain, if the pass ain't on, you might have to beat a player. Keep possession until the best pass of optimal opportunity presents itself, and then you make the pass. Some teams, to coin the phrase transition and counter-attack sides, play the first pass. Everyone moves into position, move quick, pass quickly to get up the thirds of the pitch. What was your belief system on that? Because I think it kind of differentiates the two.
My belief as a coach, tying in with what I want to write down and what I want people to read, my beliefs as a coach are you should try and coach the complete footballer. You should coach to turn out the complete footballer. That's why I think the syllabus should be reversed. I think it's got room for massive at the FA, massive improvement. And I think certain ages have to be taken into consideration. But my coaching theory, philosophy would be to try and turn out the complete footballer. Right. So with that in mind, I'm not trying to avoid the question. With that in mind, you still got to have your own, with regards to your football club, your own defensive strategy, your own attacking strategy, your own set pieces, and then your own drills to improve finishing and defending and midfield play, phases of play, etc., right? What I used to encourage is players to make decisions that would benefit the team, right? So if it means retaining possession and not, what we used to say is don't force it, right? So I used to talk to him about it quite a lot, Cartwright and Eastick. I used to talk to him about it a lot. And Cartwright said, like, the problem is we'd go down one side in this country. We'd go down one, like that outside tranche that I'm talking about, right or left, doesn't matter. He said, and we'd just keep trying to play give and goes, or the front man would come and show, and we'd try and try a little crossover run, and the fullback would come outside to in, and he'd do like a rotation with the nearest midfield player. He said, but it's well defended. What we don't do is we don't accept defeat like the foreigners did and have done for decades. We accept defeat and we go, okay, what I'll do is I'll get it out my feet and out my body, and I'll come out the other side, what we used to call play rounds. So what we used to say is, when I was at Leyton Orient, I used to say, I used to come out with a phrase, protect the ball. And then my kids,
protect possession.
Yeah, or you just in brief, in abbreviation, because you bear in mind there's a game going on, and you've got to give the information like that. And it's got to sink in.
No, so I understand the point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, protect possession. But the little buzz phrase was protect the ball.
Yeah,
so Tony Court would be wriggling down the right hand side. He was a good winger, and Andrew Uckstep, he was a good left winger. And then what had happened? A midfield player would come across and they'd double up on him. So you should say protect the ball. And then Court, he'd stop like that, and he'd get it out of his feet, and he'd go bump, nearest midfield player. And I'll go, get your play rounds going. Do you know what I mean? They go bump out the other side. Then Uckstep would have a wriggle, and they'd double up on him. So then, obviously I'm telling them protect the ball, but at the same time you've got an overload elsewhere if they've doubled up on the winger, And the funny thing is, I come up against him, Cartwright. He was youth coach at Charlton, and we beat him 2-0. So it was like the like the apprentice turning over the master, which was nice. It was nice for me. It was nice for the lads.
Justification, yeah.
So it was good. But the other thing I used to coach is try and look for the pass that would do the most damage. Sometimes, so like the furthest pass forward. Think of the best. What's the best assist you saw last year, and what's the best assist you've? Hold on. What's the best assist you've seen this year? Both by the same player. There's a clue.
Probably De Bruyne.
No. The best assist you've seen last year and the best assist you've seen this year, both by the Manchester City goalkeeper, who tickled it out of his feet, got his head up, and he saw that it was 1v1 or 2v2, and he's pinged a magnificent 60 to 70 yard ball right on someone's chest, and then he's got it down and he's gone bump, 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 past it. He's had a little wriggle inside, then past it, a little reverse, whatever, and then it's in the back of the net. Right? So the bottom line is this, right? It's a means to an end. Sometimes Guardiola's got his players playing like he did at Barcelona, right? And the others are like they're light years away trying to do it at other clubs, with all due respect. What he does, sometimes you do it to suck the opposition in so that you've got lots of grass, lots of the pitch, lots of land in behind, so you can go long. And then what's happened is they've been on the end of they're defending Manchester City, and they've defended it well, and they've a long range shot across has come in. The goalkeeper's gathered it. Have a look. I think it was about 2 or 3 games ago. He's gathered it. They've gone semi-squeeze, right? Waiting for normally they go semi-squeeze and then drop out, and then like iron wide, and then the 2 centre backs split. Right? What he's done, he's gone, no, fuck that. Look at this. Ping. He's gone ping, and it's gone 65, 70 yards. 1 pass, and then it's no, actually. It weren't a wriggle, it weren't a tickle, it was 1 pass, and it was more or less right down the middle. And the geezer's got his body in, showed some strength, and I forget who it was. He put it in the back of the net. Yeah. So literally...
Route 1 football, as I used to say.
Well, they used to say, yeah, because like we're what it is, we're... it's all this, what do they call it? Self-flagellation. Well, that's what we do. That's what we're good at.
Self-hate.
That's what we're good at. Self-hate, self-flagellation. And it's another thing I'm putting in my book.
Self-loathing is actually
self-loathing. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Because it's bred into us. Don't ever make the mistake of thinking for 1 minute that politics and football, unfortunately, are inextricably linked. And we, as a people, we were having a conversation, right? Some of it I agreed with, some of it I disagree with what you were saying strongly, but that's another thing, another story, right? We were talking politics before we come on air, right? But don't think for 1 minute that we haven't been the victims of browbeating and self-flagellation, self-hate, self-loathing, to the extent where we don't know whether we're having a shit shave or haircut as a nation. And like Bill Songer said to me in 1985 at Leyton Orient, football reflects life. Right? Football reflects life. Society is a microcosm. Football is a microcosm of society, he said to me. I got it the arse about face. Football is a microcosm of society. Then many, many, many years later, as recently as 4 or 5 years ago, I heard Stan Collymore say it on Talk Sport. Well, I first heard that phrase, football's a microcosm of society, in 1985 from Bill Songers, the Leyton Orient physio. Right? So don't ever make the mistake that people have ganged up on us. And we haven't had enough belief, we haven't had enough arrogance, we haven't had enough confidence, we haven't had enough self-examination and belief in our own methods. 1 minute we want to be like the Germans, the next minute we want to be like the French, then we want to be like the Spanish, then we're going to go catenaccio like the Italians. I mean, what's a load of bollocks? And it's all coming from the leaders at the top. So what you do is you sort the syllabus out, and like I've said in previous podcasts, right? When you turn out more or less the complete footballer, right? Because what happens is there's a natural order from childhood. There's a natural order that falls into place. So you don't have to pick people and pigeonhole them and say, yeah, you're a right back. That right back might turn out to be a great centre forward. The definition of a centre half is a fouled centre forward. A centre half might turn out to be a great centre forward. A right winger might turn out to be a great playmaker in the centre of the park. A playmaker in the centre of the park who's maybe giving a little bit too much away. You teach him to be conservative. He might be end up a fantastic midfield player who can screen the back four. Yeah. A winger might end up being a great fullback or a great wing back. And on and on and on and on and on. You understand what I mean?
Sort of total football, playing in multiple positions, sort of,
Yeah, well, that goes back to my grounding, and seeds were sown, Joe, and I've never forgotten them. So to me, it tells me that the many bulbs that were planted and the seeds that were sown at Chelsea Football Club, which they, it was like they nicked a few ideas because he was into it like mad for it. Dave Sexton and Dario, like they nicked it off of Ajax.
Cover coaching and that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with Will Curver, because it's all unopposed, and I've yet to watch a game where you can perform a technique that's not under pressure and opposed. So it might be all right might be all right as a drill. It's all right as a drill. It's all right as a drill because it's like I've said on previous podcasts. Football, unfortunately, and footballers. And I was one of them, and I was just as guilty. They think that it's the only sport where you don't have to comply or work at repetition. Right. So where Will Curver's concerned, because don't think I ain't had my eye on different stuff throughout the decades.
I know, yeah.
He come in ages ago. You know what I mean? He come in ages ago. I'll tell you who's a fan of his, Charlie Cook, ex-Chelsea. Now, fantastic drills, great drills for technique. To get a feel of it and master it. But then you've got to master it when you've got some big area centre half
pressure,
who wants to snap you in half is breathing down your neck.
Yeah. I guess that's we spoke about sort of analogies with boxing. I suppose I was watching a fight the other day, and I think it was David Hay was talking about the difference between pad work. The pads don't hit your back, and sparring, and you can look fancy.
It's from Enter the Dragon, isn't it?
But what I mean,
1973.
I don't know, maybe. But point being
balls don't hit back.
Yeah, so you have to do a combination.
Bob Wall, who's a world karate champion, he's an American. They've done the thing in Enter the Dragon, and he gets a ball, and he goes like that, and it flies all over the place. And Bruce Lee said, "Balls don't hit back." That's where that's from. Yeah, but there is a difference because, and I'll tell you the best exponent of it. My favourite boxer of all time, or one of two or three, is Mike Tyson, who was coached by Constantine D'Amato, and he drew the First World War analogy. D'Amato drew the First World War analogy.
Okay,
there's two guys in the trenches. They're getting bombed to fuck, and like bullets are flying all over the place, and grenades are coming over. They're both frightened. They're both shit scared. They're both shit in a brick, right? This is the gist of it, right? But one guy gets his rifle and he gets up over the thing and goes after the people that are throwing in the grenades and the bombs and the bullets, and the other one stays there and shits himself, right? So they both feel the same, but what defines the difference between a coward and a hero is their reaction. Right. So he's saying this to Mike Tyson. So he said it applies in the boxing ring. So if you're and you're on the ropes and comes going bang, bang, bang. So they're giving you to the body to make you drop so they can give you one to the head. Right. He said your reaction. He said if you cover up, people are going to expect you to cover up. You don't. You cover up at first. Then you come bang. And you come back and then you throw 2 or 3 shots and put them on the back foot because they're not expecting it.
Yeah. So is that attack is the best form of defense then? Is that with that sort of analogy?
I think that's the analogy he's trying to draw.
Yeah. So you got there's another phrase is indecision is worse than wrong decision. I don't know if you've read that phrase as well.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, that was on The Sopranos.
It was on The Sopranos. It was the
greatest box set ever written. I've seen it 7 times through. My kids bought me the box set. I've seen it 7 times through. I can more or less quote every fucking episode.
It's fascinating. I don't know how you caught me out on that one because I did get it from The Sopranos.
Carmela laying in bed with Tony. Yeah, when he was going to buy the place down on the shore, and then she found out he was having it away with some Russian bird.
Yes, that's right. Not the one with the one leg. I can't remember. But anyway,
that's it. It was the one with the one leg. Yeah, who looks after his uncle? Who looks after Uncle Junior?
Right. Well, on that laugh, let's call it day. I think we've had a good chat there. Really good questions, I thought, from John Bailey there, and really appreciate that. Actually, the one from Joey Barton, which you kind of sort of glossed over a little bit, was from a mate of mine, Dan Stevens. So I'll give him a shout out. Thanks for his feedback. And yeah, please, hopefully you've enjoyed it. Please retweet when it goes out on Twitter on the Uncensored Podcast official handle. Obviously, John will be tweeting it out to his thousands of followers. We'll be doing it again next week, episode 19. So we're 18 now. We're into the adulthood, so that's we'll be finding a few more fucks and bollocks around from you.
Adulthood,
adulthood.
How to write a film. How to write a film as a consequence of a chip on your shoulder.
So please do feedback, or any feedback's good feedback. Where we're going right, where we're going wrong, any questions you want to ask John, he's here ready, willing and able to answer your questions. And
feel free, keep them coming. What we want, Joe, is while we're filling in, because we're going to go into some live shows hopefully when when Don gets back, and the casino's open and we can do it with maybe a Guinness in our hand or whatever.
How brilliant would that be? How brilliant would that be?
I mean, I'll get in. Just the support has been phenomenal. Like direct messages and whatever. This is people like they want us to play a live venue and do an evening with. So we're going to look into all that. But in the meantime,
you got to put up with me.
No, I was going to say we need people to like view it, hopefully like it, share it, subscribe to it, retweet it, so we can get the numbers up. But 100%. Keep the questions coming. Yeah, that's what I want to end with. Keep the questions coming because I love it, because it makes me think on my feet. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Which is a coach, you have to do it. That's what you have to do as a coach.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, thanks very much, and have a good evening, everyone, and see you next week.
Cheers, Joe. Good night, everyone. Thank you.